Hello, everyone, and welcome to another inspiring episode of Women Who Lead. I'm your host, Teresa Palacios Smith, and in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, this special episode is dedicated to the remarkable stories, challenges, and triumphs of Latinas who are excelling in their respective fields, and each is leaving an indelible mark on the communities they serve. So grab your cafecito or your café con leche or your tea and join me as we chat with our incredible panel of leading Latinas. And I call them leading Latinas because each of them has a special place in their markets and in my hearts. And I'm thrilled to introduce to you today, first, Patricia Boesio. And Patricia is the former honorary consul of Ecuador for the state of Georgia, and also branch manager at American Pacific Mortgage, also known as APM, right, Patricia?
Right.
Patricia was born in Guayaquil, Ecuador, and studied at Curitiba College in Brazil, where she mastered Portuguese. And I've known Patricia as she's been a pillar of our community here in Georgia for more than 30 years. And she has received so many awards and so many accolades for the work that she's done in serving the Latina community in the pursuit of financial awareness and also homeownership. Patricia, I'm so excited to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Hola, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you, Teresa.
Thank you so much. Susan Mendez. She is the Special Projects and Events Manager at Long Realty, where she has over 21 years of service. Susan's parents are descendant from Mexico, and she grew up in a small mining community in southern Arizona. I think you're the first person I've ever met that has that story. So I can't wait to hear your story, Susan. She operates the Grupo Hispano within the Long Realty companies and is passionate about her community and making homeownership a reality for the many families that Long Realty serves. Bienvenido, Susan.
Gracias, Teresa. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It is such a privilege. Thank you.
Absolutely. And then Laura Vasquez. Laura is with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services California Properties and Realty and the Perry Mundy Realty Group. She has over 2 decades of experience in the real estate industry, and she is ranked number 3 within the Berkshire Hathaway Home Services California companies. Congratulations, such a huge honor. And she has successfully guided over 200 families through the process of home buying and home selling. And in fact, Laura, I just want to take a minute to recognize 2 individuals who have sung your praises and are very good friends of mine, and that's Dave Corey and Matt Johnston. Both describe you as a superstar in the industry, and it's clear that your leadership and passion have made a lasting impression, not just on them, but all the people that you serve. So welcome as well.
Thank you so much, Teresa. It's such a pleasure being here in your show. Thank you.
So thank you all. And again, I'm excited and let's dive right in. In fact, the first question I ask everyone that's part of our Women Who Lead group is that I want to know how you got started in real estate and in the business you're in, because it's always interesting to me, right? Some people are second generations of families that were in the business. Others just did it by chance. So I'm going to start with you, Patricia. How'd you get started in real estate?
Well, I was in the banking industry in Ecuador. And when I arrived in 1994 in Georgia, the first thing that I thought is I want to continue being in the financial business. And I went to Georgia Tech, prepare myself with my English. That's the first thing to do, right? And after that, I started working in that time with Norwest Mortgage, I remember, then Wells Fargo, and, become broker, and voila, we were in the industry, but it was already for me. I was in the industry in Ecuador.
So you had that banking background already, which made it easy to transition. Now, did Georgia Tech have a English, Spanish immersion program?
Yeah, they have a second language.
I did not know that. That's a news to me.
12 months. It is
Yeah.
12 months. And obviously, because I went to Brazil, my English was very poor. And then I decided the first thing that we have to do as an immigrant is to learn the language, because that's the first step that we can communicate correctly with any industry that we are going to be working with.
I love that. That's absolutely fantastic. Susan, how about you?
Well, I got started in the business when I found myself without a job. I had worked for this mining industry for about 16 years. And so I said, okay, now what? So I found a job ad for Long Realty Company. And I thought, wow, that would be so interesting to see what it would be like to work for a real estate company. And so I applied and with Rosie Corbeline, and I got the job. And what I found really interesting is that Long Realty had been around since 1926. So it had been in town for so long. And I thought, okay, I'm going to give you that. I'm going to try it. So Rosie Corbeline hired me, and she was our former CEO of Long Companies.
Did you start as an agent?
Well, what I started as an administrative assistant, and so I continued. And it's been a really wonderful road. I've been here for about 21 years. So it's really a great company to work for.
So I have to do a shout out to Rosie and Renee Gonzalez, who's the current
Yes.
the president of that Long Realty, because Rosie was the first person I met that really was passionate about establishing un grupo hispano within Long Realty, because she felt that she was missing the mark. This was many, many years ago, and not capturing the growing and expanding Latino market, especially in Arizona, which obviously is Latino, right? There's a lot of Latinos there. So again, shout out to Rosie and to Renee, who's continued that passion as well. And so welcome. Thank you for sharing that. And Laura, how about you?
So I've been licensed for the past 7 years. But previous to that, I was always working for lending industries, for either being a receptionist or an admin assistant, just doing a lot of work. So I would see everything on the lending side, and I would see them communicate with the agents and all that stuff. So I ended up getting my license. I don't know why it took so long, but I ended up getting my real estate license about seven years ago, and here I am ever since. But before that, I always knew I wanted to get into real estate, so I've always had that in me. But it just took me a while to get my actual license. So I'm here. Yeah.
Well, it's so interesting, because I think one of the best experiences that any individual that's working with a buyer's agent today is knowing how to have that background in the banking and finance industry, in the mortgage side, along with the real estate. You bring a huge, big resources to your clients. So having that, I know, has got to be an asset as well.
Yes, it is.
It
Yes,
is, right?
definitely.
So one of the things that I really want to know, and I'm going to start with you, Patricia, because you came to this country. I am in such awe. I look back now at my parents and I think what courage it took. I don't know that I could do it, to come to this country without a dime, to start all over, not speaking the language like you did, right? And having to just start from scratch, and look at where you are today. To me, you're an amazing woman because of all the things that you had to experience to get to where you are. And you are so many accolades. I mean, again, Patricia, tell me about that experience and how scary it had to be for you.
Well, I think my story is nothing compared with other women, Teresa. I believe there is a lot of women there that they pretty much start from scratch, from zero. In my point of view, the most difficult for me was the language. And that's why I thought, if I am well educated since the beginning, I'm going to approach whatever I want. And I think I was lucky to have a husband who provides and support me financially in that time. But at the same moment, you try to eat the world in the United States, if you don't have the language and you are not communicate, and you cannot have friends, even having friends, and that was the toughest one for me. And believe me or not, I was the first one in the family who came to United States to live in United States with 2 kids, 2 and 5, with no language, no at all, a little bit, and you have to be brave too. But my story is nothing compared with a lot of women's there, that they really deserve that applause when they came.
Well, you deserve that applause too, Patricia. Again, just coming and starting with 2 small children to another country and really having to start all over. No matter, sometimes you don't get the credit even in the schooling that you have when you come, across borders. So again, I congratulate you. Susan, tell me a little bit about your mining background, because your parents were miners, right?
Yes, actually, my grandfathers were miners, my father, some of my brothers, my husband, and they worked for different companies at different times under underground mining. So that was a really difficult time for some of the families. Like my father, he was found without a job when the mines closed at that time. So my mother was so instrumental in really being able to stretch that dollar and really help us, because we come from a big family. We had 6 brothers and I have 3 sisters, and so there's 10 of us. So, that the mining industry provided so many years, and it was a company that was up for a long time, but because of the copper price, declined, they closed it down. So there were struggles.
Not mine copper.
Yes.
And you went underground. Again, I'm just fascinated by that. That's just unbelievable. And to transition into where you are today is also an amazing story. And Laura, how about your family?
So my family, my mom and my dad, they are from Jalisco. So they came here, I think the 70s. So I was born here. My parents, I think I got a lot of this from my dad. My dad, he has never worked for like a company or anything like that. He's the one that was always, selling fruits, lemons, stuff outside. And little by little, he just got his clients, and he started selling clothes, and he bought his first home. And then after that, he bought another home, and then another. And I think it was my dad more than anything that got that into me, like that little seed that kind of got into me, like real estate. I have to get, I have to make sure that I have some sort of real estate to be able to be better. I don't know, he's always thank God, he's always gotten like rentals and all that stuff from his houses. So I felt like that kind of got me to say, okay, I have to kind of go that route, get into real estate to be someone like that. And yeah, that's the background.
Well, first of all, I think the entrepreneurship piece, it comes with all of us, right? Latinos. I remember my mom coming here without any background. No, she didn't speak English at all. I mean, she tried, but she had a very difficult time with it. But she always sold Avon or Joyeria, or, that's kind of innate in us. So I think that's exciting. But the fact that your father realized the opportunity that real estate could bring wealth to your family early on really set those nuggets for you to be able to see that and also continue on with that career. So again, I think that's very eye-opening for all of us, and how real estate really is the pursuit of wealth creation, and really important because Americans in general, not, Caucasians, have seen that for many, many years and generations, and have been able to pass on wealth through that process. And that's what we hope to do with our show, right? To help educate and to pass that on to other Latinos who may not be as well aware of the impact that homeownership has. All right, moving along, talk about your leadership. And I love hearing about challenges. Were there ever any challenges that you had? And Patricia, I'm going to go back to you because, having a language barrier sometimes can create some discrimination, especially in the mortgage industry, which is for a long time, been very male dominant. Am I correct?
Correct, completely correct. Remember, I started the business
In
in
banking.
1996. Then it was applications done by hand. And, I was laughing this morning when I was reviewing your notes and everything, but it's true. We start working as a woman. I think I was the second woman in the mortgage industry in Atlanta in that time. And we had like 3 or 4 realtors who speak Spanish. And I remember my boss told me, Patricia, you cannot start in the Latino community. That is impossible. Nobody's going to call you. Nobody's going to follow you. We don't have Latinos here. But guess what? 1996 Olympic Games came, and 3 years later, we were like crazy. Boom. But the most difficult was in the beginning to exactly like you said, the male was predominate, handled by men, and you were like a minority into the minority.
You were
But
double minority, right?
yeah, but I stuck in, and I want to be in a Latino community, and for me has been an honor to be with women that they see me now and they said, Patricia, I know you for the last 20 years, and you are an example for us because we grew up with our community, but the most difficult in the beginning was definitely to deal with that.
Well, one of the things that I just have to do a shout out to as well is Sarah Gonzalez. So Sarah Gonzalez was the first person that I met that was so involved and a female leader. She was the CEO of the Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And that is what has united so many of us, right, Patricia, that we were all involved at one time with the Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I chaired that organization, and that's what gave me my leadership track as to where I am today. So I give a lot of credit to the Cámara de Comercio de Georgia for their work and for inspiring me to be able to come to the leadership role that I'm in today. Susan, how about you? Did you experience any type of challenges or obstacles along the way?
Yes, definitely. Like Patricia was saying, the male dominance. So usually the women were kind of perhaps noticed or seen as somebody who couldn't provide the value. So sometimes when you would provide some input, you weren't, I believe that we weren't taken as serious. But that doesn't stop. And we still continue to grow and learn and surround ourselves by those who want to teach. But the difference really came in when during the time that I was working during that mine closure, I was able to help a lot of our Latino Hispanic community because I was diverse in the 2 languages. I was able to help them. So to be able to contribute and to help out, that is so important. And I continue to look ways to help our community.
I'm sure that made an impact, right? And kind of changed the mind. Sometimes you're able to do that because you're able to really show, cause and effect. Laura, if you want to chime in on that one.
Any challenges that I've had. So I feel my challenge, girls, it's going to be a little bit different from yours, but I feel mine has been, as I said before, I am second generation here, but for whatever reason, I've always felt I struggle with my English. The reason why is because I grew up, of course, my parents, they just spoke Spanish to me. When I went to school out in LA County, and over there, back then, I guess, the classes were in Spanish. So then I remember when we moved out here to the Inland Empire, I was in 4th grade, I want to say. So everything just changed out here. All of my classes were in English. But for whatever reason, I still kept that Spanish in me, right? And people that I would surround with, my friends, they would all speak Spanish. So up to this day, I kind of feel sometimes like whenever I want to like speak or, whenever I'm like in meetings or stuff like that, I struggle with my English for whatever reason. Now, another thing is like my social media, my marketing. I started off in English, but you know what? For whatever reason, it just clicked on me. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try to go ahead and just get information out to my community, to the Spanish people, because all the there's a lot of Latinos out here in Southern California, and I know they're the ones buying houses. So I started doing that, and I would get some comments like, "Hey, how come you can speak English? You know, you should say all this in English." So I that has been a challenge for me, I guess, the language, but I'm getting over it.
It's great to have both. And with Patricia's situation, more than one, three languages that you're able to communicate. Can you imagine just the intensity of opportunity that you have when you're able to really help people in one of the, to me, biggest investments they're ever going to make in their life. It's already complicated enough when you speak English and you're trying to buy a house, right? Imagine complicated by the fact that you don't necessarily speak English well, it's not your first language, and you're able to speak to somebody who can express and explain that process in your own terms. I think that is wonderful. So thank you for sharing that. My next question is, one of the things that I struggled with was preserving my culture because I married, someone who was American, okay? And so in my family, just struggling to keep my Colombian roots, but also fit into Mississippi and Georgia Southern culture, which is a culture in its own, and also still be involved in my community. It was hard for me. That's why I think I got involved with the Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Anyone else have issues with that? How do you preserve both of those things? Because I think sometimes that's hard for us because we want to fit in to, like you said, Patricia, you want to fit into the American culture,
Yeah.
but you don't want to leave your roots behind either. They're important as well.
Well,
Anyway,
I think for me was easier when I become honorary consul of Ecuador, because I was, very related with my community and then related with other communities. And I was so proud to be involved with meetings with different consuls, but at the same time communities. I used to go to meetings outside of Georgia with the consul of Salvador, sometimes with the consul of Mexico, and that kept me in touch with my community so close that be honest with you, in these times, if you can ask me even accents, I can recognize the accents because I have been involved with my community through the consulate, and I appreciate that a lot because I learned from them.
I think that is insightful because that's why I did what I did. And now then I went into NARA. That was another because I was able to get back established into la cultura mía, my background, and so proud of it. And I think that's awesome that you were able to not only connect with Ecuador, with your roots, but also with other cultures, because within our micro culture, there's also an ecosystem of people that are Peruanos, different
Yeah.
culture, Colombianos,
Yeah.
Mexicanos, Puertorriqueños. We all have our own uniqueness that people don't understand. They all think that we're just all alike and we have the same language and verbiage, but we don't, right? It's very different. So anyone else that wants to chime in on that one? Susan or Laura?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. So, the balance, and like Patricia said, get involved in your community. Like I get involved with the Tucson Hispanic Chamber, and that introduces you and helps you to network with others in the community and to make that difference, to be able to, just the networking is something big because that's where you're building long-lasting relationships. But and then another point is always have that respect, because we all come from different backgrounds. Like you said, Teresa, we're all Hispanic, but we all come from different beliefs and cultures. And like some say, tenemos diferentes sabores, but we are all humans. And but it doesn't stop me from being Latina when I'm with the rest of the group, because that's who I am.
Love it.
Yeah.
Laura?
I agree with both Susan and Patricia. Networking, get involved in the community, and I feel like at first how I mentioned to you the Spanish speaking, but once I just let go of that fear and just really spoke just Spanish to the community, to my people, I felt more comfortable. And you'd be surprised, there's a lot more people that are going to be thankful that you're speaking to them, their language, because they don't know. They're like, oh my goodness, Laura, I'm so glad you're telling us it works this way because we couldn't understand it, or, so you'd be surprised. But yeah.
I think this is great. I love it. I will tell you it comes from preserving culture too, because Colombian culture is the foods we eat are very different. And one of the first jobs I ever had, just have to tell the story I ever had, was in a Mexican restaurant called El Palacio. Now, my last name is Palacios, so everyone thought in Mississippi I was Mexican. And my first week of that job, I got fired because I didn't know the difference between a burrito and an enchilada, because everyone thought I should know what the difference was. I had never eaten Mexican food in my life. And so it was like getting fired from a Mexican restaurant that bears your name when you're Latina. Imagine that. But I got rehired again. So anyway, because I went back and said, wait a minute, that's not fair. I'm Colombian. I'm not Mexican. Let me try again, right? So anyway, all right. So now for a bit of advice. What would you tell young Latinas who really want to aspire to either real estate, Laura, who want to follow? Because right now real estate is changing, right? And so do they want to get in? How do you inspire them? And or Susan and Patricia getting into the mortgage side or into leadership. So I'll start off with you, Susan.
Okay. The advice that I would give is be authentic, be you. Don't be afraid, because everyone has something of value to give back to those who are starting or who you can mentor. Find it. And if you have that passion, then it's going to show in the way you speak to others. If you have that drive, you're going to go for it and have fun.
I love that. Laura?
So I would say just go for it. Let go of all the fears. Anything and everything is possible. It is scary because we're just commission based. For myself, I think I didn't get my first check until a year and a half or a year after. It was hard. I wanted to quit so many times, but I didn't. I knew there was something more. I knew there was more to it. And I would also say, try to get a mentor. Try to get a mentor, because mentor helps so much. And there's so many free ways of getting mentors right now, like YouTube, watching podcasts. And even if you have to be shadowing somebody or get into a team where maybe the commission's not the best, but you're going to learn from someone that knows that has been in the business for such a long time, I would totally go for that. So do not stop your dreams. Everything is possible. The sky's the limit.
Well, Laura, let me clarify this. You said you did not get paid for a year and a half?
I would say it was about a year and a half. Yes.
Now that is dedication to this craft. That is dedication to real estate, for you to say, I'm going to stick with this, because obviously you had to have someone helping you along the way. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but that is amazing. But look at where you are today, because you kept with it. And one thing that our community out there needs to understand, because I think sometimes there has been a miscommunication from our behalf, I'm going to say from real estate and from mortgage, from our behalf, that we are paid a salary from who knows where. We are on commission. We earn every single dollar, and we're actually not paid until we close a deal. So that it's almost like attorneys who get paid on contingency. That's what we are. We're contingency, helpers, because until we actually hand you the key, and things can actually happen even at the closing table, right? But they say, where the deal does falls through.
Yeah.
We will not get paid. Everything we do for the passion and love of this business. So I think that's something that we need to get through and communicate to all of our audiences. Patricia, how about you?
No, the same, exactly. Susan and Laura cover pretty much everything. But I will suggest to my loan officers, as always said, be sure that you have enough savings, because this path is going to be complicated for the first year or maybe second year. And study, read, read, read. Don't stop reading, because that's the only way we are going to learn and, try to help more clients and educated our borrowers. But definitely is taking what you believe in and have savings at the beginning.
Well,
You
you
did
know,
say,
it's
like Laura.
it's funny because NARA has the top 10 principles, right? And one of them is make sure that you have savings that you put away for a rainy day, because you never know when the tides will turn. And I think that's really important for all of us to keep in mind, because we want to spend, 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 and we don't necessarily want to save. And it's really important for that recession, because we never know when it's going to come back around, that we actually put that away so that those rainy days, those tough days, we can go through those very easily. And so again, great advice. And the best advice, I think, Patricia, is to constantly be educating yourself, because today more than ever, it's really important for us as realtors and mortgage professionals to understand the value and to be able to communicate it to others that we bring to the table when it comes to helping someone in the real estate transaction. All right. So now we all have had people that have helped us along the way. And this is really important to me to thank those individuals that were trailblazers, or people that really helped us or touched us and said, hey, it's your turn. I want you to step up into this role. So who were your role models, mentors, or who played a significant place in your heart and during your journey? And Susan, I'll start with you.
Well, in my previous company that I worked for, there was a group of executives who really empowered us as young women they gave us projects to start and to finish. And if there was some kind of a mistake that we made along the way, they would help us and develop us. And then with our current company, well, like I said, my former CEO, Rosie Corbeline, allowed me to work with a group of talented agents, Hispanic agents, and to help them to really get involved with the community and again, to build those relationships. And they're a wonderful group because they are both, English and Spanish speaking, and they are really willing and working hard to serve our community, to help them find that dream home. Sometimes they don't know how to start or where to start. So we have some workshops to actually educate them. We had our first cafecito this Saturday, and they were so excited to talk to the community, to bring them in. And they shared this little sweetbreads called the cochitos, where they were so excited. And then the support continues today with our current CEO, Renee Gonzalez. And she continues to support this effort, which is so important. And like you said, Teresa, in Arizona, we have to have it because we're really close to the border of Mexico. So it's important to help our community.
Well, having that leadership starts at the top. That's how we can get things done within our companies, because sometimes it takes a little bit more than just, oh, let's just try it for 6 months. It may take a year and a half, right, before we actually start to see the fruits of our labor. It's like that seed that we're planting that eventually becomes a huge, huge farm. So thank you for sharing that, Susan. How about you, Laura?
So I've had about 4 people throughout my entire career that has helped me. First of all, it's my coach who I still have. I probably hired him, I want to say like the second year and a half. And ever since I've had him, so he's just been mindset, when I get stuck somewhere, he'll help me. So he's been a great part of
So
it.
what's his name? You got to
Another
tell.
one is,
¿Cómo se llama?
his name is Benny Salcido. Benny Salcido.
And who's he with?
Yes.
What
I'm
coaching?
sorry. He's not a specific coaching program, but he coaches.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Perfect.
thank you,
I always
Benny.
like to give
Him.
people credit. Yeah.
Yes, of course. And you know what? You'd be surprised. So I do remember this mentor. He probably doesn't know, but he actually did. He was a good mentor of mine when I just started. I remember I'm like, okay, so how do I get listings? How do I start? So I was just giving, expires. So I happened to call somebody from expires who flipped houses. he was an investor, and I've always had that in me too. So I called him, thinking he wanted to sell. We ended up meeting up, and he taught me all the way. He taught me how to flip. Actually, my first investment, I actually got in with him. So he's one of them too. And of course, the other one, it's with Berkshire, my manager. When I just started too, I wanted to quit. I remember I always say this story. I went into the office. I'm like, oh my goodness, Rudy, I want to quit. I want to quit. I can't no more. I'm not getting paid. And I hadn't even applied at a job. And I told him, like, hey, I got hired. I think that's it. He's like, no, just hold on, give it a few more months. You're doing great. You're gonna get something. And thank God I stuck around.
And what's
So
Rudy's last name?
Rudy, God, oh my God, I can't think of it right now.
That's okay.
God, I forgot.
You're on the spot, right?
but-
We're putting you on the spot. Oh, I
But
think
no,
that's great.
yes, that's great. They have played a big part of my career, and there's still a lot more to go.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. I think that's great. Patricia, how about you?
Well, it was a long time ago, but I have to give credit to a wonderful man who has been a believer in me when I was young, when I was 30 years old. The first one was the president of the bank in Ecuador, Guillermo Dueñas, who believed in me, and he gave me the opportunity to be a vice president in less than 6 years in the bank. And then I have to give the credit to my late husband. He believed so much in me, so much that sometimes it was overwhelming to me. He was like, you can be president of Ecuador. I remember, you can be whatever you want. It's only on you, Patricia. And he was a wise, very smart man. And he was the one who always says, you can do it. No matter what, you will have accent until the last day of your life. But continue doing what you're doing, continue to educate yourself, you will do it great. And we did this together, pretty much.
Oh, that's beautiful, Patricia. I love that you gave homage to him. I feel the same way about Mike, my late husband as well. Just having those angels that really help you talk to you when you've got the negative on one side saying you can't do it, and the person behind you saying, yeah, you can do it, you can do it. So I think those are great, great people that really inspire and help us through those good times and those bad times as well. All right. So, I like this question that someone asked me once, and I thought, oh, I think I'm going to ask our panel. Is there anything you want to ask any of the other panelists that maybe I didn't ask? So I'll start off with you, Patricia.
Well, I'd like to ask Laura, I'm still thinking about 2 years, 2 years with no income. My goodness, my respect to you, because I thought in my case it was 6 months, but 2 years, man, it's a lot. Tell me, honestly, I know it was challenging, but how you support yourself, because sometimes we have a lot of young realtors there struggle, and it's good to know that you did, and it's great.
So Patricia, thank God to my husband too. I'm not gonna say we were wealthy because we were both struggling. We had just gotten married. So you can only imagine. He had just started a job. He only made, the minimum. So we would just be really saving up money. And up to this day, we're not really big spenders. So he would also just encourage me, just hold on, Laura, hold on. You know what? Our mortgage, thank God, wasn't a lot. So we were able to manage it. But yeah, thanks to my husband and my parents too. They also supported me with anything that I needed. So thank God for them too. Yes. I know it's tough. I can only imagine somebody just going in it and no savings. It's hard. You have to have a backup. You have to have somebody there.
It's a tough business. It really is. So having that support is unbelievable. Laura, how about you? Is there a question you want to ask?
For both Patricia and Susan, you ladies are successful. How do you keep up? How do you do it?
Susan.
So how do we do it? Well, you just continue. And and you both touched on this. Well, everybody has touched on this, is family support. Family support is very important, because without their support, you can't go on. I mean, it's hard to go on if you didn't have that support. So balancing, oh wow. When my kids were little, it was a struggle. You're running here and there and everywhere. And now that they're grown, you still try to be there when they need you. And a lot of the things that we do to bring the family and the tradition back is passing those traditions of teaching them and sharing some of those wonderful recipes that my mother had, the grinding of the corn to make tamales, and the picking of the prickly pear to make some jellies. But the balance is all about that work and family balance. You have to blend it. That's really, really important. You can't have one without the other. You have to have both and work at it hard.
I love it. Patricia?
Well, yeah, this has to be the family support, definitely. But we are Latinas. We are Latinos. We have that plus. We always count to each other, no matter what. My sister-in-law can be sick, or I can be sick. She will be here. And this is the beauty of the Latino communities. We cross all over the state, all over the world, to be with that somebody that needs us. And that is the legacy that we have to pass to our communities too.
Yes, I love that. Beautiful. Oh, so true. So true. Susan, is there a question you want to ask?
Well, I think Patricia, because I recall my mom when she, we first came to the US, she struggled with the English language. So how did you do it? Because you're very successful now. And looking back, what helped you to develop your language skills?
And your confidence.
And your confidence.
Right?
Well, you know what? It was tough. I remember I have to read 3 times the same guidelines to understand who with this borrower. And I remember my other colleagues, they were like waiting for me, and I was like reading 3 times the same guideline to catch that information. I think that I am very perseverant, and I am very, for me, is the discipline, and whatever you're going to do, that is a key. And I always teach to my kids, whatever you are going to do, be the best. And I follow that. I try to be the best without sacrificing my family, of course, but try to be the best. And if you have to read 3 times the guidelines, go and
I think that is just a testament to your perseverance, for sure, Patricia. And it's funny because I love that you asked those questions. My father had such a very thick accent that I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed and humiliated growing up in Mississippi because nobody could understand him. I mean, it was really thick. And I think that's why my mother never learned English to speak it, because she saw how people reacted to him. And my dad, instead of speaking slower, he would actually get louder because he would get mad that people didn't understand him, right? And so it was always humiliating for that reason, right? So Laura and Susan and Patricia, what I would do as a young child would get in front of a mirror and practice English so that I would not have an accent.
you see.
And I'm ashamed of that today, because what beautiful it is to have the stories, the character, and the charm that you have, Patricia, because you have that accent. And I can't even, if I tried to fake it, I cannot do the accent that my father had. I can't even try, but I still have that accent. I ended up with an accent anyway, that Southern accent, right? So anyway, So it is
Southern one.
something, right? That is something that we all struggle in our cultural, perseverance of fitting in, right? That's something that we all struggle with. So again, I really want to thank you all for sharing your beautiful stories and your backgrounds. And before we say goodbye, um, are there any final thoughts of words of wisdom, favorite books or quotes or podcast? Because today that's the most popular thing, is to listen to podcasts that you would like to share that resonates with you and that you would like to be able to tell others about. And Laura, I'll start with you.
So I just say it's always been in me, right? Anything and everything is possible. Just set your goals, make sure you can vision yourself. You need to go for it. Everything. What I always see too, it's like, okay, if so and so can do it, how come I can do it? You just got to be super persistent about it. You have to have the passion for it and go for it. Yes, you might mess up, here and there, but it's okay. Just keep on going. Don't look back.
Oh, I think that's beautiful. I love that. Susan, how about you?
Well, I got to tell you, my favorite podcast, and I'm not saying it that it's because you're here in our presence, but I look forward to this session, The Women Who Lead, because you bring in a lot of different panelists that come in and they provide some insight that perhaps you can use in your business or use in your personal life. So thank you so much for that. And then I've heard a quote, and the quote says, "Strive not to be a success, but rather to be of value." And then end it with a quote. It's easy, because my mom wouldn't speak too much English, but she'd always says, "It's easy, mijitas. Just do it."
First of all, you touched my heart with that comment about the podcast. That really makes me feel good. And also beautiful. It's easy. You can do it, mijita, right? It's easy. Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. All right, Patricia, round us out.
Teresa, thank you so much. This is wonderful. It's so refreshed to have different generations in one panel, right? And I got a quote that I love it, and I think we need this kind of quotes, is love has no borders or barriers. It is the feeling that unites hearts. And it is important to understand that in this society where we are right now, we need love. We need unity. We need to be in touch with our own communities, but with our family and friends, and let them know that we are here and we love each other, because more than ever, we need that.
Oh, so true. Kindness and love, right? Those are the two words I think that really make such an impact and make such a difference if we can all just see past our political views, our opinions, and love each other. Thank you, Patricia, for ending it in such a positive way. And I'm really so grateful to all of you for sharing your insights, your dedication to your craft, and also the communities that have been nothing short of inspiring. What you've told me today really has inspired me in ways that I can't even express. I love author Isabel Allende, and I love the quote that she has: "You only have what you give." It's by sharing and empowering others that we truly discover the strength of our own power. Right?
Beautiful.
And today's guest embody the spirit of sharing and empowerment. I want to thank you, because it's clear that the future is bright because of leaders like you. Latina women who are breaking barriers, making impactful changes, and lifting others along the way. So thank you for tuning in to this special episode of Women Who Lead. I hope today's conversation has inspired you to keep pushing boundaries and leading with passion and purpose. And by the way, later today, I get to moderate 2 additional panels in person with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services California Properties Impact Council. I can't wait. I know I'll be seeing some of you that are watching this show today and joining me. So I look forward to that. And also be sure to mark your calendars on October 9th, which is our next episode of Women Who Lead, as we continue to celebrate achievements and stories of women making a difference in their fields. Stay connected with us by following and sharing our page, because your support helps us amplify voices and empower even us more deeply. Until next time, continue to lead boldly, embrace your uniqueness, and inspire those around you. Bye-bye, everyone. Ciao.